What's going on, guys? Steve here with Geek Boulevard, bringing you another film review as I've just had the pleasure of checking out the Bikeriders. And I'm sure most didn't even know of this movie due to the very little marketing it had, but there were some very great actors in here: Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy, just to name a few. And I wanted to come on here and let you guys know what I thought of the film. The Bikeriders is directed by Jeff Nichols. It is rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 56 minutes. Now, what is the Bikeriders about? Well, it's based off of a photo book of the same name detailing this photographer who entrenches himself in the motorcycle club known as the Vandals and learns about their way of life, their code, all that stuff. But it's not exactly told from his perspective. He is in the film, but this story is actually told from the point of view of Jodie Comer's character, Kathy, who is sort of this gateway for the audience to see what a motorcycle gang during the 60s and 70s was actually like. And easily Jodie Comer was the standout here. Not saying that Butler and Hardy didn't do great jobs, but most of the film was Comer recalling events that transpire throughout during these interviews that she has with this photographer. So we spend the most time with her character more than anyone in the film, and that was a smart choice, I feel, because it was a way for us as the audience to experience this different set of rules, or lack thereof, along with her as she meets and falls for Butler's character by the name of Benny. And speaking of Austin Butler, man, can this guy turn on the smolder, let me tell you. I can see a lot of people who will watch this film and then go, well, it was just Austin Butler playing himself on a bike. Nothing really different there. And you'd be right to argue that, as he's still got the deep voice and the smolder, and you know, I see why you would say that. But I would argue that his performance still deserves recognition, because even though his character does come off initially one note for a good portion of the film, the mostly silent, gruff type of biker, I guess you could say, but later in the film you see how vulnerable he actually is, and how he's very torn between his love of Kathy and his love for riding, his love for the club. So seeing his inner turmoil come out more and more throughout the course of the film made his performance increasingly better. I just wish I would have seen more of that sooner rather than later. Finally, we come to Tom Hardy, who plays the president of the Vandals by the name of Johnny. I'm sure a lot of people already noticed this, but his American accent sounds exactly the same no matter what type of American character he plays. It doesn't really matter if he's from New York or Chicago, he sounds exactly the same. Now, if that's something that bugs you when it comes to like regional accuracy when it comes to accents, you might notice it, but I kind of forgot about it after 5 minutes. And his performance is just so good, you just don't really give a shit at that point. You see how he formed the club due to his love of racing and watching a movie with a biker gang in it that happened to have Marlon Brando starring. All of that inspired him to start the Vandals, and he has a very strong bond with this group of guys, as well as with Benny most of all, who would do everything he could for the club. He almost acts like a protege to Johnny. And throughout the course of the film, you start seeing a change in Johnny, which was very interesting. The club gets bigger, he gets more of a reputation as the president, more of these newer members as the years goes on. These younger guys have different aspirations for the club and what they see it to be. So then the club starts to change, and you see the hopelessness that's in Johnny's eyes, that this thing he built from nothing is becoming what he never wanted, murdering and dealing drugs, and that weighs heavily on him. Seeing that transpiring was heartbreaking. I did feel for him, so I felt Hardy did a fantastic job with that performance. And props to the sound design for this film. I mean, the roars of the bikes, the engines are so prominent, and rightly so. Jeff Nichols really crushed it when it came to the sound design, how he really wanted to make the motorcycles feel more than just props in a movie. They felt like living things. They felt like characters in and of themselves. And he wanted to convey the way a rider feels when they're on that open road, wind in their hair, total freedom. That's so ingrained in our culture of just riding the open road with no set destination. I mean, the film delivered that feeling in spades for me. And I think Jeff Nichols as a director is really underrated. I highly suggest checking out Take Shelter if you haven't seen it yet. It's a psychological thriller, easily one of his best works in my opinion. Michael Shannon is the starring role in that. He's also in this film as well. He has a nice working relationship with Jeff Nichols. He's in a lot of his films, and he was also in Midnight Special, which was directed by him. That's more of like a sci-fi type of film, but his transition into more historical or period dramas rather definitely cannot be understated. He did a fantastic job with this story of what it means to be in a brotherhood, and also what it's like to have a love for riding and that addictive sense of freedom and the sense of escape that you get from that. But also the downfall of all of that, of what biker gangs back then were like, and the rise of the more traditional scary type of biker gangs that we see in films and TV where there's blood and violence. Overall, I'm going to give the Bikeriders a score of 4 out of 5. A standout performance from Jodie Comer was the perfect way to bring the audience into the world of biker gangs in the 60s and 70s. The performances from Hardy and Butler were great, with Butler being the lesser of the two due to him not having as many lines, so his closed-off character made it a little difficult to relate sometimes until towards the later parts of the film. Director Jeff Nichols does phenomenal work here in translating a side of biker gangs not often shown in entertainment to the big screen, and getting the most authentic performances from his cast. But what did you guys think of the Bikeriders? Did you see it yet? What's your favorite biker movie or TV show that you've seen? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed, and while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, tick the bell so you can always be notified when my next review drops. I'm going to be checking out A Quiet Place Day 1 next week. So excited for that. Can't wait to give you my thoughts on that film. But thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, keep it classy and keep it geeky.
Some people would rather crash than slow down.